Hanratty'S Huddle with your host, Terry Hanratty. I am Dave Torromeo. It is Wednesday, April the 24th. My goodness gracious, time is flying by. We have the draft coming up. We've had spring football games. And Mr. Hanratty, you just recently came back from a trip out to your alma mater. Tell us.
And it was a wonderful trip. It's so nice to get back to Notre Dame. You know, I go out there a day early, and I spend the whole day all by myself walking around campus.
That's great.
You know, I walk anyway about 4 or 5 miles a day, so I'll walk around campus for 5 miles, 5 miles, and just tool it. Because when you were there, everything happened so fast.
Yeah.
And there was, you know, you had to go to class, you had to go to practice. You never got to. There's buildings there that I've never seen that's been there for 50 years. So it's nice to do that, and you know, I met a lot of old friends, and then I went to practice on Friday.
Okay.
And spent some time with Marcus Freeman, and really a good guy. And I think I think Notre Dame in all sports is really well placed with coaches.
Good.
I think we are in good shape there. I think Marcus is really one thing. The real key is that I've never seen Notre Dame have this kind of depth.
Okay. At
all positions. Offensive, they got a ton of offensive linemen, running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and he's very nice and easy to talk to. And we talked about a lot of, you know, different personnel that I really can't say because it'll be detrimental to the pro or con to the kid. But, you know, he has a real grasp on where he is and what he has to do at Notre Dame in order to be successful. But they practice in the indoor field.
Okay, in the indoor facility.
Which it boggles my mind. You know, I've seen it before. I've seen it when I've been out there. I peek my head in, but I never watched a practice in there.
Okay.
And this thing is just enormous. You could easily punt in there.
Okay.
And it's extremely long and wide, bigger than a regular football field. And, I mean, they had 85 kids in there that practicing in different areas, and it wasn't crowded.
Wow.
And they had all the recruits over there, and they had the, you know, the walkway above so they could watch practice from, you know, 10, 15 feet above everybody else. And, no, and the practice is really crazy. There's one guy I was talking to, and I happened to mention when they were doing their stretching. I said, do all kids out there on the field get money?
Yeah.
You know, when we always talking about this NIL, right?
Yeah.
And he said, just the scholarship kids.
Oh, jeez.
Which is 85 of them. And that's not Notre Dame. That's everybody.
No,
every school is the same way. All these kids are getting, you know, I never asked how much they were getting. Because obviously the quarterback's getting the most, and, you know, the punter's probably getting the least.
Yeah.
But, no, it was a great time, and, you know, Marcus was just wonderful. I mean, he was very open about what he thinks of the school and what he's doing with the school.
Yeah.
And it was really enjoyable to talk to him.
Yeah.
But I wish I had more time, but it's, you know, it's a spring game.
Right.
So there were 300 other former players that were coming in. I went early. They were coming in because they called it the Legends Weekend. So all the ex-players were invited back to different functions. And so I think maybe sometime this summer I'll go out.
Good.
When they're going to practice and spend some more time with them and go through a lot of other stuff. But I got a chance to talk to the quarterbacks.
Good.
And it was really interesting because, and the quarterback coach, so there are 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You know, Steve Angeli, kid from New Jersey,
Yeah.
C.J. Carr, who is the grandson of Lloyd Carr, who former coach of Michigan, and Kenny Minchie, who was started at Pitt.
Yep. But
Notre Dame, I mean, they committed to Pitt, but Notre Dame got him to get out of that and come to Notre Dame.
Right.
And Riley Leonard is the graduate from Duke, who will more than likely be the starter.
Okay.
But, you know, so I went over, they were all in a group with the quarterback coach.
Yep.
And I told him, I said, okay, guys, let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you do when you break the huddle?
Yeah.
And they all said, well, we look at the defensive line.
Right.
We look at the safeties. We look at the linebackers.
Yeah.
I said, no, that's not the answer. The answer is the clock.
Yeah. How much time? Yeah.
You look at the game clock.
Yeah.
If it says 22, you take your time.
Yeah.
If it says 12,
right.
You better hurry your ass up because you're going to get a penalty.
Right.
And the penalties happen so frequently in pro and college that it drives me crazy because, you know, when I played, we had no shot clock, you know.
Yeah.
And we had to keep it in our mind, and we rarely got called for delay a game.
Right.
And now all you have to do is take one look up. There's a clock on either side of the field.
That's right.
It tells you exactly what the time is.
Yeah.
And you look at it, then it takes you a tenth of a second to look.
That's right.
Then you start your progression of what you have to do. And I think I caught them all off balance because no one had a clue what I was looking for. And then when I told them, it sort of, went into their head. Yeah. And they all said, "You didn't have a clock?" I said, "No." There's a lot of things we didn't have. Yeah. And that's one that's very important because it usually happens when you're on the road and there's confusion on the sideline. Yeah. And the crowd is going crazy, so everybody's a little tense and a little on edge. Right. And they get to play in late, and all of a sudden you get a delay game, 5-yard penalty. Damn! Now you got bedlam in the stadium. The host team is going crazy, and it's tough to turn it around when you get like that. But you have to stay on top of these little things because the little things really add up.
Yeah, that's really good advice, and I think I'm actually a little surprised they didn't have that answer because, it's,
I don't think anybody would have that answer.
Really?
I really don't.
Okay.
Because it happens so often, I don't think it's drilled, and this is all levels, not just Notre Dame. Yeah. Because I watch all college, all pro games. Yeah. And you see it all the time in the pros. You see it at every level in college football, where they just sort of, I don't know. I don't think they ever look.
Yeah, because if they look and they know that they don't have a lot of time, then they get the guys to the line and they run the play, right? If they know they can come up and maybe observe the defense a little bit more because they have more time.
And even the worst thing that could happen, if the coach if you're playing at Michigan where it's going crazy, 110,000 people, all of a sudden it gets down to 3-2 and the coach calls timeout. Yeah. Now everybody goes crazy because they know why you had. Now you got to waste a timeout. Yeah. And now you're in double dip. So it's better to, as I said, the little things really add up to be successful.
Yep. And you mentioned before we came on, they're going to have a new facility coming in there soon.
They have a place called the Goog, which was not there obviously when I was there. A lot of things that weren't there when I was there. But it's where, the players came to, they ate there, they lifted weights there, they had the locker rooms there, they dressed there, and they had tutoring there and all this stuff. And they sort of shared everything with, you sort of had, football obviously had the prime time. Right. Then they shared it with the other teams in the university. Yep. So then they went for practice, they went from there over to the indoor facility or outdoor facility, depending on the weather.
Gotcha.
But now they just broke ground the day after I left. They're building a new facility where it's going to house only football.
Just football.
And it's going to be all the state-of-the-art stuff that they're putting up. The price is somewhere between $50 and $100 million. Wow. And it's going to be spectacular. And it's going to be done in 2 years. Which the Goog, the old place, which is very nice. Yeah, sure. That'll be now for all the other teams. All the other to be able to come in and have their own areas to work in. So it's really, I think it's going to be a neat situation.
Very good. And that leads us into the draft. Tomorrow night starts the draft, and Notre Dame will have a very high draft pick. One of their offensive linemen, Joe Wall, is expected to go in the top 10 picks, maybe top 5 even. He's very highly regarded.
Yeah, his father played in the NFL for years. Yeah. Offensive lineman. Yeah. But Joe's big. He's 6'9". Yeah. And he weighs like 320 pounds. I mean, he's very agile. I'm leery about really tall offensive linemen. I love the kid. I'm sure he's going to be a top 10 pick, no doubt. Because physically he's just, unbelievable. And he started for 3 years, so he's got a reputation. But normally, I mean, you can deviate from that rule I set out there a little bit every year, obviously, but you get these kids, most of the kids are that big. Guys like James Harrison, who used to play linebacker for the Steelers, he was 6 foot, about 240, 6'1", something like that. But he is so strong and so quick, he'd get under the shoulder pads, and he'd turn these big offensive linemen. And he just put them on their back because he just had that leverage on them. Yep. And when it's 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and you're going for that yard, it's hard for that guy 6'9" to get underneath everybody to get the leverage to get root out that defensive lineman. Yep. So you're always leery of that. But, Alt has played obviously very, very well. And it's going to be interesting because they say he's going to go to the Ravens or something. I think
is that right?
I think it was Ravens, but
I don't think the Ravens have. Well, I'll have to look at the draft.
No, you're right. I'm not. It's not the Ravens. Yeah. I forget the name of the team. Panthers, maybe.
Oh, maybe I'll see. We'll see. But so let's talk a little bit more about those 4 quarterbacks. Who impressed you? Like really, A and B. If you're one of the 4 and you're not the starter or the second string, with this transfer portal, how do you keep guys, or do you even care about keeping guys who aren't?
Well, they'll bring in 1 quarterback a year. Now they have 4 quarterbacks who can all really play.
Right.
I mean, you get Riley Leonard coming from Duke. He obviously has a lot of experience under his belt, and he's very good. He has a big arm, and he can move well. And Steve Angeli, like I said, from New Jersey, and all this kid does is do everything really well. I saw him a couple years ago in a spring game. Sort of got in towards the end of the game, and he just lit it up. I mean, he was wonderful. Last year, after Leonard decided not to play in the bowl game, he started in the bowl game and had a great game.
Yeah.
And he's doing well in spring practice. And Kenny Minchie, he might be the odd man out in this whole thing because, he doesn't have the playing experience. And you got C.J. Carr coming right up behind him. And he was a 5-star coming out of Michigan. It was, Grandpa, as we said earlier, was Lloyd Carr. And so he has a lot of football knowledge drilled in him over the years. And this kid can really, really play. When he throws the ball, a 30-yard strike, very quick out of his hand and very soft out of his hand. And it's really impressive to watch.
Yeah.
And I've watched all 4 of the kids. Leonard was a little bit distracted because he had a boot on his leg from an operation he had recently. And but he was throwing the ball, in 7-on-7. And everybody was very accurate and very good with their throws. So it's going to be a real battle to find out. I mean, I think Leonard, they say that they're not pushed that he have to start him because he's a transfer 5th-year guy. But I've never seen a transfer not start.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would say that he would probably be the guy in.
Yeah.
But right behind him, if he makes, too many screw-ups, you've got Angeli and C.J. Carr. I don't know if they put a true freshman C.J. Carr in, but he would be very close.
Interesting. So, but who is the guy who you walked away saying this
C.J. Carr, I walked away saying, this kid, maybe not this year, but he is going to be really special.
Okay. Very good. So, with that said, we have the draft tomorrow night, and we know that a bunch of quarterbacks are going to go, early, and maybe even 1, 2, 3, depending on what we have. Chicago, everybody thinks they're going to take Caleb Williams. I'm not so sure. I mean, I've read some stuff where people are like scared of taking this guy now. And you have Washington at number 2. I mean, so I think we're looking at Williams, Drake May, and we know J.J. McCarthy's moving up. So you could have, these 5 quarterbacks, Penix, and then obviously you got Bo Nix. It's going to be very interesting, I think, this top half of the draft with Chicago, Washington, New England, Arizona, especially New England. I mean, because if they don't have the guy that they really are in love with at quarterback, they might trade back. But I'm trying to see what team would take maybe Arizona for an offensive lineman, or the Giants also have the 6th pick, and there's talk about them possibly moving up to get the QB they want. So that's
I would think the Giants would be a big mistake for them to take quarterback. I think that's a high pick, and there's a lot of need, and I think Alt would be great with the Giants. I think he would fit right in there, but I think there's a lot. Don't believe what these guys tell you. The only thing that I would almost guarantee New England will take a quarterback.
Okay.
Chicago, they might be playing around, but they got rid of their quarterback. So yes. I think that they will. I think they're playing around.
Well, remember, they have 2 picks in the top. They also have a second high round first round pick.
Yeah, but those quarterbacks aren't going to be around for that second pick they have.
Okay.
They have.
Right, because they could take a quarterback in that first pick and then circle back and take something else they need right away. So,
I think they will take a quarterback. I think they're lying to you who they will take.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think the kid from Southern Cal, I think he may be falling a little bit when you come out, and this has been a while ago, when his father came out and said that, he want to change, because there are rules of how much money rookies can make.
Yes.
It's a lot of money.
It's slotted, yeah.
And it's also top 10 get more money than the 11 through 20 and 20 through 21 through 30.
Yeah.
But when he said that he'd like to have the rules changed for rookies and have them just negotiate a regular contract, that threw up a flag.
It's always the dad, right?
When he came out and said, I might not play for X team if they take me, I may stay another year at Southern Cal, that's another flag.
Another flag. I got you.
And when these flags start coming up, you got to really wonder. I mean, I hope he corrected himself in all the, they do the interviews with the GMs and with the head coaches and all that stuff, and we don't have access to that. So I hope he smoothed things out for his sake.
Yeah.
But I think the kid from LSU is really special.
Daniels, yeah.
And I think May is my favorite.
May's your favorite. Okay.
And I think May is going to end up in New England.
Don't like hearing that, but okay.
Being a Jet fan, yes, I understand.
Speaking of the Jets, what did you think of the Zach Wilson trade?
I was so happy for him.
Yeah.
New York.
New start. Yeah.
He was not fit for New York. Yeah. New York was not fit for him.
Yeah, it was a bad
Sometimes
marriage.
those things happen.
Yeah.
New York is a tough place to play.
Yeah.
And if you don't have success immediately out of the box, it's going to be very difficult for you.
Yeah.
And I think he's a good enough kid. I think he's very good. And for him to go to Denver, I think that'd be a nice landing spot for him. It seems that way anyway.
You got Sean Payton, who's, so I think it's a good spot for him. I think, in the Midwest, it's a different animal than New York. So,
But the Jets really have to take a look at themselves.
Yeah.
They got Sam Darnold they picked.
Yeah, and they blew him.
They got nothing for him. Now they got Wilson. They got nothing for him. Yeah. They wasted two, really. And Wilson was number 2 pick in the whole draft. Overall, right? Yeah. And Darnold was pretty much up there too, right?
Yeah, Darnold was
he first pick or
he was the number 1 pick and for the Jets. But I blame the owner. I think the owner gets too involved. I don't think he knows if the football is blown or stuffed. I think he's useless. I'm sorry. I shouldn't go there, but I did, and I just think that's part of the problem with the Jets. But I do think if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, I do think they'll try to grab a quarterback, maybe a Penix or a Nix if they're available, and groom them. That's what they should be thinking.
They should be thinking that because even if Rodgers stays healthy, he's only going to be 1 or 2 years. That's it.
Yeah,
and that's a perfect spot to groom a quarterback.
You got it. Look at how Green Bay has done over the years. Brett Favre sat behind. I can't think of his name, but he was good. And then Majkowski. And then Rodgers sat behind Favre for a long time. And then this new kid Love sat behind Rodgers. They don't just throw them to the wolves, and that's what the Jets did. And they admitted it was a mistake. Is they drafted the kid and they ordained him the starter before they even had a mini camp.
Well, it used to be back in the day where the quarterback come out of college.
Yeah,
he sat for 2 or 3 years behind the veteran who's in there, learn the game, then you're ready to start.
Yeah,
but nowadays, I guess it's the money.
It's the money.
I mean, they pay these kids so much, and the fans are so desperate to see this kid that they have to put him in.
All right, so let's go back. Let's play a little game. Are you ready to play a game? We have a little time here. Whoever the quarterback is, let's say for Notre Dame, you open at Texas A&M. That's
going to be a tough opener.
That's a tough opener.
I think if we get beyond, if we win the Texas A&M game, we got a shot at running the table.
All right, so let's say you have your starter in there, and they, God forbid, lose that game. And then your next opponent is at home against Northern Illinois. I don't want to say cupcake, but
we should win that.
You better win that one, right? All right. So I guess maybe, but I think they're going to be so. And then you go at Texas A&M, home to Northern Illinois, at Purdue, and then you have Miami of Ohio, Louisville home, Stanford home, Georgia Tech home. Boy, they got a bunch of home games right in a row here. Holy mackerel, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to be busy. 6, 7, 8, almost 9
I'm going to be on my couch for this whole season.
And the toughest games that I can see, now you never know. I think that Texas A&M game is really going to set the table for this season because other than
if you lose that game, you don't have anywhere in that middle section you just said to really qualify how good you are.
That's right, because you
can't move up the chart.
You can't, because other than Purdue and who knows what Stanford's going to be, Navy, Army, these schools are. I mean, God bless those guys, but they're not going to move you up any polls because, and then UVA at home, and then you finish at USC. So it's not a strong schedule in terms of. But who
that's probably the weakest schedule on paper that I've seen at Notre Dame in a long time.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad you agree with that.
Yeah, I think so. And but I mean, any of these teams, because we don't know how, with this day and age, with the portal.
Yeah.
I mean, some bad team.
Yeah, that's true. We don't know.
It's like I was just talking to a buddy of mine at South Bend who has a nephew that plays for Purdue.
Yep.
So they brought in 26 portals.
Yeah.
So you don't know how they're going to be.
Right.
You have no team. You have no idea, except for the academies. They're not bringing in portal kids.
Yeah.
And, other than that, you don't know how well that these people do in, developing the portal.
That's right. And to that point, Texas A&M, who we both view as a difficult road game, August 31st, they have actually had a lot of problems with players leaving in the portal. So maybe they will not be as strong. But if they're not...
You don't know about... You have to really look at who's leaving.
Right.
Because those are a lot of times those are kids they want to leave.
This is true.
They will run them off. They will run them off the team,
especially when a new coach comes in.
Yeah, basically call and say, "Listen, you're not in our plans here, so I would recommend you go to the portal."
Yeah, well, Deion Sanders basically when he went to Colorado said it to the whole team.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys just get in the portal right now? So,
yeah.
Which is unbelievable. But
so you don't know from and you look at a team like Texas A&M, and they got a state that's full of football players.
Yeah,
they
sure
do.
They
pick up a real good team right away. So
yeah, it's going to be a great.
We got to definitely have our head up for that one.
Great, absolutely great opening game, but I just kind of wish it was more towards the middle of the end of the year. But we'll see. You got to play the games. You play the games for a reason. And with that said, Mr. Hanratty, anything else you want to talk about today?
I think we're good for now. I think we're getting close. We'll have next week to go over how your Jets did. In the draft and how my Steelers did in the draft and any other surprises that may occur to us here.
Yeah, my goal as a Jets fan is not to talk about the Jets in the off season. I want to talk about how the Jets are doing during the season. But God forbid we should ever have that issue. So.
But I have to admit, of the Jets fans that I know, and you're one of them, you guys are diehards.
Oh, we are. No, it's in our DNA. And listen, when you grow up, especially when you grow up with Namath, and then you have the type of when you as a kid experiencing that, but then going back and all the just the craziness that this organization has put its fans through. The fan base really deserves better. So we'll see. We will see. So that's it. Signing off for now. This is Dave Torromeo. Thank you, Terry. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay.